My name is Rachel, and I'm the owner of Dog at Heart. So at Dog at Heart, my focus with dog training is really helping dogs with handling issues and helping them feel better about veterinary care and grooming through something called Cooperative Care. So force-free training is about teaching our dogs, or any animal really, without the use of pain, intimidation, or force. Traditional training methods often involve punishing a dog for behaviors you don't like through varying degrees of harshness and trying to stop bad behavior. And so the dog learns to do things or to not do things because he's scared of what will happen to him. On the other hand, modern force-free training is about teaching our dogs alternative behaviors, teaching them what we prefer them to do, and then rewarding them for doing so through the use of positive reinforcement, which, for each individual dog, that could be treats or toys, or the opportunity to do something they want to. So we then get dogs who are excited and happy to do what we like them to do, which is lovely. And there's just never a need to use punitive punishment or threats. We also end up getting dogs who are curious and creative and not afraid to try learning new behaviors. So force-free training also looks at how the dog feels. So for example, if you have a dog who lunges and barks at other dogs, that could often be something that is based on fear of other dogs. So instead of punishing that dog for reacting, we can help our dog feel better about other dogs through creating positive associations with the presence of other dogs at an intensity that our dog can cope with, because really the dog is reacting to get other dogs to move away. And if we think from a worried dog's point of view, that's perfectly valid, and adding more pain or intimidation while the dog's already feeling really scared just isn't going to help. And so a big aspect of force-free training as well is understanding how behavior works from a scientific point of view, and then applying this knowledge in a manner that is ethical and looks after the welfare of the animal. The biggest benefits of force-free training is that you have a really strong bond with your dog, and your dog can really learn to trust you. So it's a relationship that's built on mutual trust and safety and positive associations. You'll also get a dog who enjoys doing what you've asked them to do, and that feels good. For people as well, when you train force-free, you never have to feel bad about what you're doing. So, people who have unknowingly brought their dogs to punitive or traditional trainers in the past would kind of understand how awful it is to see someone hurt your dog or choke your dog or scare your dog in the name of training. So that can be really traumatic, but with force-free training, you never have to feel that way, and you should never feel that way. There aren't really any negatives to force-free training when you're doing it right. In terms of sort of taking longer, a lot of people would say yes, and I agree that in some cases, especially when it comes to more serious behavioral issues, and yeah, absolutely, because if you're suppressing behavior through the use of pain and punishment, that can appear to be a quick fix, but in actual fact, you haven't really changed how the dog feels. So the dog's holding all these big feelings inside him, and maybe one day he'll explode or he'll just shut down and give up, which is really sad. So with force-free training, it can seem to take longer, but that's because we're working on changing how the dog feels, as well as teaching alternative behaviors. And also, if we have kind of good management in place, so that means setting up the environment so that it's easier for the dog to learn. If we've got good training mechanics, sometimes the results can show up quite quickly as well. And so I guess here's the thing, do we want the quick fix that nobody's happy in and where the issue might crop up again later on, or do we want good results that take a little bit of time to work on? Force-free training works for all breeds because all animals, they all learn the same way. So they behave in ways to get what they want or need. And they also behave in ways to avoid what they're scared of or what might cause them pain for the sake of their survival. So we can definitely teach all breeds what we like them to learn through the use of positive reinforcement, helping them feel safe and meeting their needs. The thing is that maybe some breeds have different motivations, so they're more motivated by maybe chasing things. So then we have to look at what we can use to reward them and reinforce them with. One of them is kind of thinking that force retraining is just about giving treats to the dog, or it's just about treating the dog for good behavior and ignoring bad behavior, when there's actually so much more to it. There are different techniques we use and different ways of teaching things. It's just that none of these methods involve the use of pain or intimidation towards our dogs. And then another common misconception is that force retraining is only good for things like tricks or basic things, when actually it's really important to use force retraining when working with more serious behavior issues like reactivity, aggression, separation anxiety, etc. Because when we're dealing with more serious behavioral issues, there can be a lot of underlying emotions and sometimes physical health issues as well that the dog might be experiencing. So it's not fair or kind on them to hurt or scare them further when they're already going through so much. And then another misconception is the idea that force retraining, because we use treats quite often, that is going to make dogs overweight. But what we actually do is set aside a portion of the dog's meal. So in the end, the dog isn't really overeating or anything. Cooperative care is about helping our dogs feel more comfortable during handling and husbandry stuff, whether that's at home or at the vets or at the groomers, and actually giving the dog a way to have a say in what's happening to them. So it's not just about them tolerating what's happening, but it's them actually being a willing participant in what's happening to them. So when we work on cooperative care, our dog has a way to tell us to stop what we're doing and either go back to an easier step or give him a break. It's about having that two-way communication with our dogs. So we still build up what we're doing with the dog. So let's say a dog is scared of, having its paws touched, having his nails clipped. We're not going to go straight into that, even though we're using cooperative care. We might start with just hovering our hand above the paw, not even touching it, and then giving the dog a treat after we hover, and gradually build up the intensity and go from there. But throughout the process, the dog has a way to say, okay, I'm ready now, and okay, wait, I need a break. And we let them have that break. So we as people control so much of our dogs' lives as it is, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but having control and having choice is an important part of any animal's welfare. I always use this example, but imagine if you have one dentist you go to who doesn't care about how you feel and then just go straight into whatever he needs to do. And you might be experiencing pain or discomfort, but then you can't make him stop until it's over, and then you get to rinse him off. And then you have another dentist who says, all right, if you need a break, raise your hand and I will stop. So which dentist do you feel more comfortable being around? So when we get that choice in what happens to us, it makes us feel safer. So you have some way of stopping what's happening or taking a break. And that's the same for our dogs. It can take a little bit of time, and it really depends on the dog and how sensitive they are. If a dog is really overly sensitive, then that's something that I would have the owners go and check with the vet about that, because maybe they're experiencing pain somewhere that we can't tell. But if it's things that maybe don't hurt as much, general touching, sort of using a stethoscope or anything like that, that could be a little bit quicker. It should be something that you continue working on. So I find it really important personally. I do it almost every day with my dog, just different little bits, because there are just so many aspects within sort of vet procedures or grooming procedures that we need to do with our dogs, or that our dogs need to have done rather. And how being able to practice all these little things can be really helpful for when the time comes that they need that grooming, when they need that veterinary care. What I find that is through cooperative care that dogs learn to accept and willingly participate in the handling and husbandry procedures a bit quicker in the end. So, every dog will need to have to see the vet at some point in their lives. And it's so important that they feel better at the vets, because the problem is that as humans, if we see our dogs in distress at the vets, when they are ill, we might start to put off taking them to the vets because we're worried about the stress, and that can be dangerous sometimes. So, if we knew our dogs could be less stressed out at the vets, we'd be quicker to take them there when they need it. I would think of it as one aspect of force-free training. Force-free training is about meeting our dog's needs and helping them feel safe. So cooperative care does that by giving our dogs more of a choice and some control over their lives so they can feel empowered and safe. So, it involves something we call start button behaviors. I'll try not to get too geeky, but, it's a way for our dog to tell us, hey, I'm ready. And then we can start to proceed with what we want to do with them. So there are multiple ways to do that. I find like a chin rest quite useful. So the dog coming over and putting his chin down, that's I'm ready. And if he lifts his head at any point, you just stop what you're doing. So, what I find really helpful is that for dog owners, these start button behaviors help to make it really clear for you when your dog is ready and when your dog is uncomfortable. If it's possible, it's really good to work closely with other dog professionals like vets and groomers so that we can help our dogs feel comfortable in those situations and with different people as well.